So welcome, friends. Welcome, everyone. We are so happy to have Jyotish and Devi ji today for today's special satsang. And welcoming Jyotish and Devi ji on behalf of Ananda Sangha Bangalore and also Guru Boys across Ananda Sangha India. And people who are joining for the first time, let me introduce Jyotish and Devi ji. Jyotish and Devi ji, they are the spiritual directors of Ananda worldwide. And they've been serving Master and sharing Param Yoganandaji's teachings for last 5 decades. And we are so blessed to have them for today's Sunday Satsang. Thank you.
Please join us now to welcome Jyotish and Devi ji for In Conversation series on the topic, how to draw Guru's guidance and blessing in our life. Now I invite Jyotish ji and Devi ji to lead us into an opening prayer and share their thoughts on the topic.
Well, even with the opening prayer, we're beginning to share the topic, because one of the first ways to draw Guru's guidance is to pray to him. So let's do that together. I'll just lead a prayer, follow along mentally. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, beloved Guruji, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Beloved Master, beloved Swamiji, we invite your presence into our lives, and especially into this conversation with our friends. May thy guiding hand be behind all of our thoughts, actions, words, and feelings. We offer ourselves into thy light. Receive us and guide us to our true home in thee. And help us also to be pure channels of thy light and blessings to everyone we meet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, as we pray like that, one of the things that we're speaking this evening and how to draw the Guru's guidance and presence and blessings into our life. And when we pray, we have to do so with our own sincerity. I led a prayer because we're a group here, but Master said, don't offer God hothouse prayers, just ones that are you're repeating by rote, and then your mind is elsewhere. The prayers, and when we pray as we did now, I always try to visualize each of the masters so that I make that personal connection. And when I say their name, I make the connection by also visualizing them. But however we do it, and every individual is different, the first step in drawing the Guru's guidance is to work on deepening that connection with the Guru. And that can be done in many ways. Obviously, prayer is one of them, and a very, very important aspect of it. Prayer should be more like a conversation with God than it is some sort of a formal thing. I remember Swami quoting, there was a Christian missionary and saint. His name was Frank Laubach. But he started out, he worked in the Philippines, and his guru was Jesus, although he didn't think of him as his guru. He just thought of the relationship between him and Jesus. But it became very personal. And I remember someone saying that they were with him and they asked him to say a little blessing before the meal that they were having together. and they said it was quite remarkable. It wasn't like a normal blessing. It was like Frank Laubach was already having a conversation with Jesus, and he just continued that conversation that had been silent. He continued it out loud and asked Jesus to bless everyone and bless the food that they were eating and to help it nourish them and so on. But the point here is that he was already carrying on an inner dialogue with Jesus. And so our prayers should be more like an inner dialogue rather than something formal. If you were coming into, I don't know, the home of your mother and father, you wouldn't have some formal greeting. Oh, dear mother, dear father, I humbly greet you. You just say, hello, mother, hello, father. Oh, it's so nice to see you. Our prayer should be more like that. Hello, master. Oh, I want to feel closer to you. Oh, father, mother, please guide my life. Just very natural and very sincere. The more sincere we are, they don't read our words. I mean, they hear our words, they know our thoughts, but that isn't what impresses them. It's our heart feeling, it's our love for them, our desire to be close to them. And so when we pray, we should have that. It's almost like giving voice in words, mentally, of course, generally, mentally giving voice to the dialogue that's already going on of, I want to feel your presence. I've been reading Yogananda has this beautiful book, Whispers from Eternity. And he said, when I'm gone, I'll speak to you through those whispers from eternity. But he isn't just speaking to us, he's speaking to God on our behalf. And I've been repeating one recently, and the essence of it is, oh, Father, Mother, the oversoul of all the universe, I want to know thee. I want to know you more. The thee and the thou, for us in our modern language, sounds a little formal and stiff. But at Master's time, it was the familiar. And so he was being more familiar by using those terms. But if you're less comfortable with them, just say, I want to know you. I want to feel you. I want to feel your presence. I want to feel you in deep stillness in meditation. I want to feel you in breathlessness and deathlessness. I want to truly know you. And then Master ends his prayer with, come, Spirit, come. Oh, come, Spirit, come. Oh, come to me, Spirit, come. And you can feel that deep yearning and sincerity. That's the way we should pray. Not formally, not with a, as Master said, not with a hothouse prayer. So praying to the Guru, we always start meetings with a prayer to the Guru. We start satsangs. We start everything. We start our meals. We start everything. Starts with a prayer to the Guru. And even prayer, it would almost be like, strike the word prayer because that sounds kind of formal. Just a conversational request from a child to the Father. So start always with a request to your friend, the Guru, not somebody far away. The more we can make that conversation and that relationship feel very natural, but very sincere, and also with deep respect. You know, if those of us who knew Swami Kriyananda, you were not on formal good behavior, but you always tried to relate to him from your higher self, and he related to you, to your higher self. And so in the same way with Master, you don't want to be formal, but you also don't want to let your mind sink into, I don't know, moods or or any kind of negative feeling or energy or complaining, any of that. It's not so much complaining, but he said God likes it when you argue with him, but argue sincerely with him. So if you're wanting God to come, to say something like, Mother, what's taking you so long? Here I am, I'm wanting your presence. What's taking you so long to come to me? And he said God likes that because it's familiar. It's the way you would, if you were at your parents' home and the meal was late, you might shout out, Mom, where's the meal? I'm hungry. Where's the meal? Get the food here. You know, it's natural and deep. And that's the way our relationship with God. That's what draws his blessings. The love of your heart and the desire for that connection. That's what draws the connection.
Thank you, Jyotish. And I'll share a few words now before we get into our conversation. But first, I want to greet everyone who's joining us this morning and so many different groups. So, and I also don't want to forget Shama and Vasudeva, who lead the group in West Delhi. They've just opened a new beautiful center. They sent us a video, and I know Nayaswami Dhyan is there with them this morning, and they'll be blessing it. So our blessings are with you too as you open this beautiful new center to serve Master and serve his disciples. So this, what Jyotish was saying was so important. And Master starts off the first sentence of Autobiography of a Yogi, I think we all know it, is the characteristic features of Indian culture have long been the search for ultimate verities and the concomitant disciple-guru relationship. So that's very, very interesting. I mean, if all Master gave us was that one sentence and we could go deep in it, we probably could find God from that one sentence. But so he's saying ultimate verities, the underlying truth of all that we know, all that we can experience. That's the search for that is the characteristic features of Indian culture. And that's why the great saints and gurus have come from India. That's why there's such natural devotion and reverence and bhakti in India. But then concomitant, the related, and it's interesting because usually we say guru-disciple relationship. Well, in that sentence, Master says disciple-guru. He puts the disciple first. And I can't say that I really understand why he did that, but maybe it's to make us, to draw us in rather than to make it feel that we are a part of it more, that we are important in that guru-disciple relationship. It's not just one directional, unidirectional, as Jyotish was saying in several ways, but it's a mutual exchange between the disciple and the guru. And that's the key. The guru-disciple relationship is the key to finding those ultimate verities, which ultimately means finding God. So why is the guru-disciple relationship so important? It's something Jyotish and I have been on the path for decades, as you said, and it's something that all the time is in my mind. Why? Why am I with you, Master? And I would suggest, I try to do this often throughout the day and in meditation, and I would suggest that you all try it too. Try to remember your very first moment when you met Master in this lifetime. What was it? Was it reading autobiography? Was it looking at a picture? Was it hearing someone talk about him? what was it? We had a friend who, actually, he's part of our Ananda Los Angeles ashram. And he said he was a student in Los Angeles. And he was waiting on tables in a restaurant. He had a part-time job. And he was serving table. He had a tray and was serving the tables. And at one table in this restaurant, there were two men sitting talking. And one of them just said, Paramahansa Yogananda. And he just stopped. He had never heard it before. He didn't even know what it was, what it meant, if it was a person or something, what it was. He just stopped and he turned around and he went to that table and he said, what did you just say? And the man said, we're talking of our guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote autobiography. That was all it took. And that got him on the path, just hearing those words passing. So think about it. Think about that moment. Because the guru-disciple relationship, believe me, you did not start it in this lifetime. You came in when the soul emerges from the infinite as a spark of individuality. That guru-disciple relationship is part of that individuality, the particular guru that will bring you to God. It's really amazing to think about it, but very comforting at the same time, because sometimes, particularly in the early years when I was on the path, you think, am I really doing the right thing? I mean, why have I given up my life for this? I'm not even sure what it's all about. But then if you can just keep remembering that first moment when you first had that contact, and that was not the first moment ever. It's been for many, many lifetimes. The Guru was preordained by God to the individual soul to show you how to find realization, liberation, soul freedom. So it's something, as Jyotish was saying in a different way, it's something we keep in our hearts and we keep it alive and we keep it, it's like a beautiful sacred flame. And we just keep feeding it with little sticks of our devotion, of little pieces of wood from our own devotion, from our own dedication, from our own yearning to know God. And if we can do that, that flame gets stronger and stronger until, as Swami Kriyananda said, and we've quoted this often, towards the end of his life, he said, I no longer can tell where Yogananda begins and Swami Kriyananda ends. It's just a continuous flow of consciousness. So we need to understand, this is all of our destiny. It's not just the great saints, but it's for each one of us. Master said, the time for knowing God has come. He came with a world mission, and he came to bring every sincere disciple to God. And we need to just hold on to that thought with all of our strength. When we get discouraged, when we get doubtful, when we get all the negative things that can happen, hold on to that thought. Master came in this incarnation so that I could find God and never let go. And that will be, as they say, Guru is the raft across the ocean of delusion. And that can be your raft if you cling to it. Okay, so
Well, no, it's time for you to
yeah.
jump in also.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jyotish and Devi ji, for such an inspiring talk. So now let's move on to the Q&A now. So starting with the first question from the devotees. That's a very important question, starting with is that what does it truly mean, attunement with the Guru? And how do we deepen this connection, even when we are feeling sometimes uninspired, and sometimes we are feeling a distance from the Guru? And in case of kind of different situations in our life, this happens, right? So this is the first question we want to ask him.
Okay, well, maybe I'll address it and then David G can too. So, in our festival, which we do more, Festival of Light, which we do more in the West than we do in India, but there's a part in there that is from a prayer of Jesus or a statement of Jesus. And he says, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul, and with all thy strength." So heart means feeling, mind, a thought, soul is the yearning of decades, and strength means life force and energy. And so if we think, how do we attune with the Guru? Those are the elements that we have to attune. We have to attune with our heart. We have to work at our devotion, but as I say, a natural devotion, not just the desire to be with him, but we have to keep that alive. And the more we can keep that alive, it depends on the individual. Some people are drawn a little bit more to, I don't know, a kind of a ritual of devotion, an arati or something of that sort. Others are less ritualistic, but whatever sincerely awakens the desire to be with God. Now, devotion, we can put it on a high shelf and say, oh, I'm not devotional enough. All it really means is wanting to be close to, wanting to offer up a friendship, a love, a connection. And so to keep that devotion alive is the first aspect of attunement with the Guru. And as I say, that can be done in many different ways and should be done according to, some people will do it through chanting more, or through a mantra, or through looking at a picture and just when they see a picture stopping, maybe looking at the eyes, but making a connection. I'll give a little shout out to Chennai, because one time I see the altar behind you with the garlands around it. They had a beautiful altar and we were getting ready for a Kriya and there were garlands around. And I was going to each of the gurus and I was pronaming sincerely, inwardly, and making a connection. When I came to Sri Yukteswar, he is a little bit, for many people and for me, was at that time a little bit harder to relate to, because he comes across a little bit stern and distant in one master writes about him. So I was saying sincerely, Sri Yukteswar, I feel a little more distant from you, but I want your help and support. And just at that moment, the garland around his picture fell off. And I had to pick it up and put it on the picture of Sri Yukteswar. It was like in that moment, he was speaking to me. He was saying, I'm here, I'm listening to you, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm your friend. In fact, he was very friendly to everybody who wasn't under him for training. So anyway, setting that aside. So with our heart, with our mind, we should study Master. Devi and I, for some time now, every night before we go to bed, we read from the lectures of Yogananda, or read something of Yogananda. Not a lot, and not just to read through, but to read with deep attention and attune our thoughts and our mind to what Master is saying. Master said, read a little bit and then think, how does this apply to my life? How can I relate to this? How do I do? So you really engage your intellect, engage your mind, as opposed to letting it be kind of passive. But you need to have your heart engaged with the Guru, your mind engaged with the Guru, your soul it's a little more amorphous. It's a little bit more in a deep feeling, but a life dedication. And then energy, strength is energy. You need to serve the guru in some ways or another. You need to, energy also means in meditation, you need to offer up the life force to the guru, to withdraw it and offer it up. But in these ways, you make that connection to the guru. And so you need to, like anything, you need to initiate it, and then you need to keep reinforcing it. And so all four of those need daily reinforcement. And obviously meditation is the primary way, but meditation only covers so much of the day. We should keep trying. The spotlight of my mind ever keeps turning on thee, as he said in a beautiful poem of his.
Okay, I'll share a few thoughts. Thank you, Jyotish. Jyotish just mentioned that we read a little bit from Master's talks, transcribed talks. And just the other night, I read this 2 paragraphs, and I thought, oh, I want to share this with you. So tonight, so because it was like a light bulb went on in my brain when I read this. So it's not a long passage. Master says, always remember your Father loves you unconditionally, but because he has given you freedom to go away from him or to approach him, he is waiting for you to express your desire for his love before he comes to you. Master goes on to say, once when I was meditating, I heard his voice whispering, thou dost say, I am away, but thou didst not come in. That is why thou dost say, I am away. I am always in. Come in and thou wilt see me. I am always here, ready to greet thee. So that, it just was so powerful to me that we go, and Master said, he spoke, don't pray like a beggar, but just to think, God's there, Guru's there, I'm the one that's not there. And in fact, there's a story that Swami told us. There was a disciple of Master, a fellow monk of Swami's, who was from, I believe it was Switzerland. He was from a European country, and he had read autobiography of a yogi, and he was drawn to it, but then he thought, well, I wanted a guru in the body. Master had already left the body. And so he went to hear another Swami, Swami Ramdas, a great saint from India. He was speaking in nearby. And so this man, who became Brother Ananda, he went to hear him speak and was very inspired. And afterwards, he went up to Swami Ramdas and he said, sir, will you accept me as your disciple? And he, being of an enlightened man, this Ramdas said, no, sir, I am not your guru. Yogananda is your guru. And he said, but Yogananda is dead. And Ramdas said, no, Yogananda is alive. You are dead. And so it's the same thought that the guru is alive, the guru is present, but we're looking elsewhere. We're looking, it's as though this beautiful sunlight is coming in the window, but we have our eyes closed and we don't see it. So just the thought when you sit to meditate, try to feel after you've calmed down, after you've done the techniques, try to feel Master waiting for you in a beautiful room. And the door is open. He's just waiting for you to walk in the door. But if we're distracted and thinking about everything we've got to do that day or problems or whatever, then we don't go in that room where Master is waiting, always waiting. And so to attune to the Guru, it's just the missing piece is our attentive awareness that the group is there always. But we're waiting for something, and it's really God is waiting for us. That's the reality. And so it's important to remember that no matter what happens, if you can, if you turn your mind to God with focus, concentration, and devotion, the qualities Jyotish was mentioning, heart, mind, soul, and strength, you will find him. We will find him. And that's why he came.
And there was also another element to your question, Venkat. How do we connect with the Guru during the hard times, during when we're struggling? It's exactly the same. Guru is still there. It's just that when we're going through a hard time, we get emotionally reactive and we want this and we don't want that, and the emotions get stronger. And Guru's still there, just as same as always. It's we who find it more difficult to settle down enough to accept the fact that he's there. And so there's no difference between easy times and hard times. On the Guru's part, he's like the sun. It doesn't matter whether it's windy or whether it's calm, the sun is still shining. Even when it's cloudy, the sun is still shining. The clouds simply block the sun, but the sun is steady. And so the Guru is like the sun. God is like the sun. And if our minds get cloudy because of emotions and fear and upset, the sun is still there. And if we can calm ourselves even just a little bit and remember the sun is still there, God is still there, God is still my friend, God will help me through this, and make that connection. So we can't use difficult times as an excuse to say God's not with us during these times.
Thank you, Jyotish ji and Devi ji. It's such a beautiful thought to say that God and Gurus are right here waiting for us to just tune into him. And talking about attunement, Swamiji emphasized the importance of attunement on the spiritual path. And he also said it's disciples' responsibility to, reach out to Guru. And Guru's ability to help the disciple depends on disciples' level of attunement to the Guru. So coming to the second question, and it is on attunement again, is how to feel Master's tangible presence at every moment. And while you're having a conversation with Master, a casual conversation as you were talking, like we talked to our mother, we talk to our father. How do we involve him in our conversation, his participation, and what kind of questions can we ask him?
Okay. First, I want to share with you, thank you for that nice question. Earlier today, well, it's nighttime here now, so anyway, time difference. We had a wonderful conversation with a very old and dear friend of ours who now lives in the Ananda community in Assisi, Italy. And she told us a remarkable story that she had just experienced. She, in December, it was very windy and stormy there, and she was coming home and it was dark, and there was a piece of wood there that had fallen and she didn't see, and she slipped and fell and broke her ankle quite badly, really badly. The foot was perpendicular the way it should be. Anyway, she was able to call a friend and they got her to the hospital. But they live in a small area and they have a small hospital there, or a rural area, I should say. And they have beds for 9 people. And there were 21 people that they were trying to attend to. So they put her in a room with another person. And this other person was a very elderly woman who was dying. And her son was there. He was a grown man. but he was crying and, just, oh, Mama, don't go, and our friend Uma was in extreme pain. And here she's in a very small room with this woman who's dying with the death rattle and her son who's all distraught. And Uma said, I just started praying for them. That's all I could do. I prayed and I prayed. And then finally the woman passed and the son was calm. And they were able to, they took the woman's body out. But then they brought another woman in who was also dying and the next day. And that woman said, she said, I couldn't sleep. I was in so much pain. So I just prayed and I prayed for them and I prayed for their souls. And she said, I felt so close to Master. And it was like, rather than me focusing on my pain and my worry about will my ankle heal properly and so forth, I just was thinking about them. And it was like, I just felt like this was the greatest blessing that had come in my life. And so just to,
In fact, Uma said, I really came to the realization that the reason I broke my ankle was not to break my ankle, was so that I could have to be in the hospital in order to be a channel of light and prayer energy to these people who were going through a difficulty.
and so, to find through hard times, to keep the attunement, to keep the conversation, it's really, it's learning to speak a language. We learn from childhood to speak the language of our family, and maybe we go to school and we learn other languages, and work, we learn other languages, whatever it might be. But learning to talk with God, that intimacy of conversation, is learning a new language. But it's our original language. It's whether we speak Bengali or Hindi or English or Italian, that's our second language. But the language of the heart to God, that's our first language. And it comes absolutely naturally once we tune into it, once we get in that flow. So just in everything that we're doing, and Swami taught us this too, before you say something to another person, before you make a decision, Master, is this what you would do? Is this the right course to take? Before you, as you're cooking a meal, I do this all the time, just to ask, okay, should we do this? Should we add this? How should we make it look? And so whatever you're doing in that first original language of your soul, be talking with God, asking his guidance, asking his thoughts, asking what he would do, or she, as if you see God as Divine Mother. And, Swamiji Kriyananda, he was such a marvelous teacher, and it's been this year, it's 12 years since he's passed. But as the years go by, I feel like I understand him better and better as I become maybe a little more in tune, move a little bit in the direction that he was. But you could feel, I don't think there was one thing he ever did that wasn't asking the guidance of God and doing it. And so develop that practice and develop your intuitive ability to speak the language of the soul.
I would add that a conversation with the guru has two parts. One is speaking to the guru, but then is being quiet and listening to what he says in response. If you were with somebody that you loved in a restaurant and you said to that person, I love you, do you love me? Then you'd be quiet. But if you said, I love you, do you love me? I've been saying that I love you all this time, and you haven't been responding to me at all. And I'm just really upset at you. And I love you, but you don't ever seem to respond to me. Now, why don't you, so you've got to quiet down a little bit and listen to the response. And if you do that, then you become as Devi was saying, you learn the language. You not only need to learn to speak the language, you need to learn to hear and understand the language. But you'll feel not like in words. It rarely comes. See, we're so used to working through the senses that we think that we have to have something that is like the senses is the language of God. But he doesn't speak out loud. He speaks silently, more in feeling, more in almost like a knowing. But you know, even in little things, if you're encountering a problem at work, say, Master, I don't know how to do this. Help me out. Can you give me some ideas? And then just be quiet for still in not only your mind, but your emotions, and just try to be still and feel the response. And it'll come more like a quiet, almost, oh, that's a good idea. So it disguises as your own idea, but it's your own idea prompted by the Guru. And so I can't say countless times when Devi and I write, a lot of the sentences even are, what should I say here? And then a thought will come. But it isn't like Yogananda speaks to us or Swami speaks to us. It's like an idea pops up and you just feel, oh, that's a good idea. That's what I'm trying to do. And so it's subtler than the senses doing it. But the more you practice doing that, the more then that guidance comes. And also well, to put it simply, the higher your consciousness is, the clearer that channel is. And so when you're attuned, when you're already devotional, when you've been practicing meditation and doing it sincerely, if you can keep your consciousness high, that guidance comes more and more clearly, until Master said that in his state, he couldn't do anything incorrectly because he was always tuning in to the guidance, intuitive guidance of Divine Mother. And so try to keep your consciousness high, but then also listen to the language of the heart that the Guru, and language of the heart and the intuition.
And you know, I'll add one thing here. We're kind of taking a long time for every question, but there's so much you could say. But also it's important because sometimes the Guru is trying, a guiding Guru, are trying to protect us. They're trying to give us a warning. Don't go there. Don't engage with that person. And in little ways and big ways. I remember, this is a very foolish little example, but many years ago, I had to give a class in the evening and I came home and there was a little bowl on the table of pistachio nuts in the shell still. And I thought, oh, I'll eat one. And I was about to put it in my mouth and it fell out of my hands on the floor. And I thought, I guess it slipped. And then I picked it up and I was about to put it in my mouth again. And again, it slipped. And I thought, am I not supposed to eat this pistachio nut? And then I thought, no, I want to eat this pistachio nut. And I put it in my mouth and I chipped a tooth. But it was like God was trying to say, don't eat that nut right now. You have a little bit of karma coming. That was, it wasn't a bad chip and it was all fixed and all that. But just to say, sometimes God is really trying to warn us. We had many years ago, there was, you probably don't remember it, but in American, contemporary American history, there was a terrorist bomb in some big building in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Well, we had a devotee, a friend of ours who worked in that building. And that day, he said, I don't know, I just decided not to go to work that day. I wasn't sick. I just decided not to go. And what was that? You know, the Guru is guiding our thoughts. And so be sensitive to the warnings too, because they're trying to protect us from danger. And sometimes you just like, I mean, I gave the example of the pistachio nut because sometimes we get our little egos get all ruffled up. Well, I want to do that and I want to eat that nut or I want to go to that direction. And the guru is trying to say, no, it won't work out so well for you.
And Master said he'll speak to us through our conscience. And just like an hour and a half ago, we have a friend who lives in Israel, and she sent me a little video, a half-hour video of this artist who paints beautiful paintings. She's a Christian. She paints just paintings of Jesus and holy things. And so I watched that video, and it was on YouTube, and it was very nice, very inspiring and uplifting. But then if you've ever been on YouTube, then on the sidebar are all these other things that you can watch. And so there was something about some sports event that had happened some 10 years ago. And I started watching that. And then a little voice in my mind said, you don't need to do that. You've got a satsang coming up tonight. You don't want your mind diverted. Now, I could have brushed that aside. All it was my conscience saying, you don't need to do that now. And I could have brushed it aside, but I didn't. I listened to it and I clicked off and then went and turned more inward for in preparation for tonight. But the point here is that don't expect always these grand answers and don't come only when you have big problems. Be open all the time to those little ideas that come into your mind, because that is the guidance of the guru, not the big voice coming down out of heaven. Thou shalt not watch that video, you know. So just the little niggly things of the conscience. That's where God speaks to us.
Okay, do you have another question for us?
Or I'm afraid to answer. Ask one more.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jyotish Devi ji, for such a wonderful answer. And yeah, we have moved on to the next question. So I think when you see the people are and the devotees and people are engaged in their life and they are busy in their own work and family and various aspects of their life. So one thing is that what are some of the practices like where we can bring in guru into our day-to-day life? And also the second part of the question is how to draw the blessings for others when we are attuned with through our own attunement with guru. So that's the question we want to ask.
Well, I'll start maybe with the second one. The more we're attuned, we don't need to consciously draw the blessings. They're there. The more we attune with Guru, there's an aura of consciousness and magnetism around us, because thoughts have energy, energy has magnetism. And if our thoughts and our attunement is there, and we're sincerely practicing as best we can attunement, that magnetism reaches out and touches everybody around us, and especially those we love. So one time, I think Swami gave this advice to Devi. Her father was passing, and she said, "What can I do?" And Swami said, "You're not."
I said, is there any special mantra or any ritual or something I should do? He was about to pass. And Swami just said, no, your love for him is sufficient. That will help him enter into the light. That was surprising.
Yeah. So that part comes automatic. How do we bring God more into our daily life, Guru presence more into our daily life? I don't know, by thinking of him as often as we can. If I don't have a better answer than that, just to keep bringing the mind back. If you can try to see God in your children or God in your family, that's a very good practice to do. Anything that is God reminding and makes you feel like God is present with you as you go through your daily life, it will strengthen
And we have the wonderful role model in our own line of gurus of Lahiri Mahashaya, who, after having received the Kriya initiation in Raniket from Babaji, for 30 more years, he worked in an office, took care of his family, his children, his home, was very interested in education, started some schools and of a more spiritual nature. And then after the 30 years, then he retired and was always available for the disciples to come. And he remained in silence most of the time, actually. But for 30 years, after being with Babaji in the Himalayas in a golden palace, he went back to work. And he did. Why did he do that? For us, to be a role model for all of us. How can we fulfill our earthly, our worldly responsibilities and still be immersed in God? Well, of course, he was an avatar. We can use that as an excuse. Well, he was an avatar, but he was trying to show us, no, what I can do, you too can do. But it comes, I think really the secret is no matter how many demands there are, work, family, whatever it may be, to have a practice, a regular deep practice of meditation, because it's through that that we learn how to be centered in ourselves. And when we are centered in ourselves, we don't get flustered by daily life. We don't, oh my God, the children didn't do their homework or whatever, They forgot their shoes at school, all the millions of things that can go wrong with life. But if you can just always remain calm and centered through your own practice of meditation, then you can deal with whatever comes. We have a grown son and 3 grandchildren, and the oldest one, who's 29 years old, the oldest granddaughter, she said to us, and none of them, they're all fine people. None of them are really on the path, but they're in our vibration. I can feel that there's a compatible vibration. But our oldest granddaughter said, you and Grandpa are 2 of the most, she used the word easygoing people that I know of anybody that I've met. Well, no matter what happens, you just kind of, okay, no problem. And that's the fruit of meditation, where you just say, nothing is that important in this world. It's all going to go. If somebody spills, tomato juice on the carpet, so what? It's just a carpet, and we don't have to get all upset about it. And so all that to say is meditation gives us the basis to go through our daily life with equanimity, and more than just equanimity, because that could be a little boring, but with the joy of seeing God's presence behind everything. The older woman dying in the hospital room next to you, everything. It comes from meditation.
Thank you, Deviji and Jyotishji. We have another question on guidance, and looking at the time, we are also, so I'm going to pack 2 questions together, which is the first thing is how to distinguish between personal desire and true guidance of Guru. So if we have a thought or a plan, how do we know it's rooted in Guru's will? That's the first question. And the second question is on Swamiji's, Master's promise to Swamiji that I'll give you my unconditional love. Will you give your unconditional obedience in return? So how, as devotees, we can expect the same love from Master and expect and learn to, give our continuous obedience to Master. So could you just pack these 2 questions together, since
Okay, we'll try to answer a little more briefly also.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. In terms of how do we know it's God's will, not our own individual desire? Well, we probably don't know is the reality of it. But if we're open to accept things that may not be pleasing to us and may not be the answer that we want, we're more like, if we're open to it, what comes may be pleasing to us, but it may also be, and again, our conscience will tell us this is the answer to your question. So you ask a question and you'll get a response. And if you listen to that response, but if you reject it and say, no, I want a different one, let me talk to your manager, it's less likely that we're going to get a true response. We'll just get a response for our own
Okay.
desire.
But we have to interrupt with a joke. We have a friend who's very, very, she's a dear friend,
Determined.
but determined, that's the good word. And she was trying to arrange using frequent flyer miles for her to take a family vacation.
Hawaii, which during
to the
high season.
And so she called up the airlines and they said, I'm sorry, ma'am, you can't use frequent flyer miles during this season. And she said, that's not the answer I want. Can I talk to your superior? And she went up and up and up until finally, I think she got the president of the airlines and
he caved in. He
caved
said, all right.
But so often when we hear guidance, then we think that's not the answer I wanted. And so we look for a different answer. But, Swami talks a lot about developing the ability to intuitively feel guidance. And he said the one most important thing about knowing if it's true guidance, if there's a sense of calmness, not because if it's our own desires, there's a little bit of agitation, a little bit of egoic vibration. But if we tune into God's will, whether it's what we wanted or not, there's a calm knowing this is the right thing to do, whether I want to do it or not. And so that's a good guideline.
C.S. Lewis, the man who wrote the Narnia tales and other things, he said, many people say they would like to serve God, generally in an advisory capacity. Meaning they want to be advisors to God. That's their service.
So just very briefly to answer your second question, whoever asked the question, I don't know, they didn't quite get it right. When Swami went to Master for the first time meeting him, he said, will you give me your unconditional love? And Swami said, yes. And then the second question, so they're not related, unconditional love and obedience. The second question was, do you give me your unconditional obedience? And because Swami was intellectual at the time and analytical, he said, what if I don't agree with you? And Master, out of wisdom and compassion, said, I will never ask you anything but that it's the will of God. And then Swami said, then I give you my unconditional obedience. So they're not linked. They are linked in a way, but unconditional love is not predicated on unconditional obedience. They're two vows that we have to make to God. I give you my unconditional love and my unconditional obedience. And they work together for sure.
Think of it as a husband and wife. It's easier to say, I give you my unconditional love than to say, I also give you my unconditional obedience.
What could you possibly mean?
Thank you. Thank you, Jyotish and Devi ji, for the wonderful answer. So one last question, maybe we want just to know about your life journey, what would be the special moments you can recollect and maybe share with us, like where you felt strong presence of Master and this guidance, those special moments of your life. Maybe you can just share us few moments.
Well, I'll just share very briefly. There have been a few times where it really felt like Master was completely guiding me. One was when I met Swamiji for the first time. It just was completely out of the blue. And then a few months after that, Swamiji asked me to quit my job. I was working for the city of San Francisco, quit my job and become his assistant. And I knew it was more than just a job change, but I felt a special grace and guidance, almost saying, if you want to know deeper truth, you can't do it by dabbling at it. You have to go full in. And so I felt a very special grace from God and his guidance at that time. And there have been many, many times in my life, but those are two that come to mind very quickly.
Yeah, there was a very special relationship with Swamiji, with all of that, the first batch of people that came to help him build Ananda. And he was very much guiding us inwardly all the time. Sometimes it was more evident than others, but I'm just trying to think of one that really sticks out. Well, I've shared this with others, but I was going, this was like maybe second year that I lived here, and I was going through a period of depression, feeling sorry for myself, just sort of negative emotions were coming up. And and then when someone said, somebody needs to bring Swami his mail, because he was always at home writing, and the mailroom was quite a distance away. And so I thought, and so someone asked me, can you bring Swami his mail? And I thought, oh boy, I'm in such a bad mental space now. I don't want to go around him and pollute his aura. But I said, okay. So they said, all you have to do is open the door, put it on the little table by the door, and then leave. I thought, okay, that'll be all right. I can do that. So I opened the door. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, put the mail, and was trying to run away as fast as I could. But Swami was typing, and he looked up and he saw me, and he was in silence. But he could tell. He knew something was wrong, and he motioned for me to come over. I came over to his desk where he was writing, and he was working on typing on a little typewriter in those days before computers. Here he was in the middle of writing a book. He takes the page out of the typewriter for this little confused girl that's standing in his doorway, puts in a little piece of notepaper, and all he typed something in, handed it to me, and then it was like, okay, go now. And I looked at it, and it was quoting the words of Jesus, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. That's all he needed to say to me. All the problems, all the things that are bothering you, just seek God first. And that was my ticket. That little piece of paper was my ticket to get off the ride of self-pity. And but there were many moments of the caring of the teacher for the disciple. And Swami had a great work to do for Master, but even in spite of that, he was a father, mother to all of us, and he cared for us and he guided us. And I hope he knows how grateful we are. I think he does. But it was a gift that we could never repay, everything he gave us. So we'll be with you all in person
Very soon.
Very
yes.
soon.
And in the meantime, behave yourselves. Just do your best and be happy.
And don't eat pistachios before you go to bed. That's my advice to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jyotish and Devi ji, and for sharing special moments of your life, stories, inspiration. And now we invite you to lead us into a closing prayer.
Okay, let's just do more of a visualization And let's see everyone who has joined us this evening, whether individually or part of an ashram, a center, and feel us all united in the light and in the love of our great Guru, Paramahamsa Yogananda. And feel that unity in our Guru, creating a beautiful globe of light and love, which is enveloping the whole world now, washing away fears and suffering, washing away ignorance. And one by one, may people awaken to this light and this love that is always shining down, and help them to lift their eyes from the gloom of this world to the joy of God. Shanti, Shanti.
We all want to now collectively send you best wishes and our love. So I request everyone to turn on their videos, and we would like to send 3 ohms to Jyotish and Devi ji as they head out for their trip to Ananda RCC and Ananda, India. Let's visualize them in Divine Mother's light and love and send 3 ohms. Oh. Oh. Shanti.
Thank you so much,
So much.
Devi ji, for joining us
Thank you
today.
everyone for your time.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Jai Guru.
It's always a joy to be with you.
And we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon. See you soon.